Okay, so welcome everyone to Community Engineering Hangouts. Today we will be hosting an event dedicated to newly released payment services. We have Jan Meron today who will share with us all the details, all the stuff, and yep, we'll be glad to ask on your questions. So we have a chat. You can ask your questions in the chat and we will handle them after the presentation. So feel free to drop your messages. So, yep, I believe we can start.
Okay, great. Let me share just a quick presentation. Can you guys see the slides?
Yes, we can see.
Great. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you guys today about payment services for Adobe Commerce. We just released this into GA on November 30th, so pretty new product. Excited to kind of show you what we've been working on for the past little over a year, and excited to hear kind of any feedback that you might have, and hopefully explain as best as I can the problems we're trying to solve and where we're hoping to go in the near to long-term future. So before I do that, let me just talk a little bit about myself. Promise I won't take too long about myself, but basically I am an engineer on the payment services team. I've been on this team for a couple years since the inception of this particular iteration of the project. I have a great set of engineers that work both in Austin and in Barcelona. Have a lot of really great resources within Adobe, and that's helped us build what we hope is going to be a really good product for not only the Commerce Cloud, but also the open source market as well, and the community. So without further ado, let me just jump into the agenda. So basically, I'm just going to go through a brief overview of what payment services is, try to run through a quick onboarding, not in its entirety, but just kind of showing you the process that a merchant might take or an SI. Look at the reporting that we have available, as well as some other features, and finally go through what we have planned for next year, as well as hopefully some Q&A where I can be of some use and answer any questions that you all might have. Definitely feel free to interrupt me or use the chat if you have something that you'd like to drill into. But otherwise, I'm just going to plow ahead. So quick overview, what is payment services? Payment services, I'm not going to read these words for word, but essentially it's a payment service is the gateway that we use to collect and transact on behalf of the merchant. So a merchant is able to install our extension. What they get is an ease of onboarding. So they're able to just basically point click onboard without having to leave the experience. They're able to immediately get access to a sandbox and go live the same day if they feel comfortable. We are in partnership with PayPal at the moment, and because of that, we're able to also offer a lot of PayPal Express options, including buy now, pay later, or I guess it's their yeah, I think that's their terminology. Pay in 4, I think, is what they call it. They offer express checkout buttons throughout the product page, the mini cart, the cart page, as well as on the actual checkout flow itself, and messaging around specifically, the pricing strategy and things like that. Additionally, they have Venmo enabled, so users who sign up with us will be able to also take advantage of that. So those are kind of the payment methods that we support at this point in time. It's really easy. It's a couple buttons, and all of the payment methods show up. Obviously, they're customizable, but the idea was to just kind of make things as simple as possible. Finally, and I think this is really where a lot of the value lies, because if you've listened to this part, up until this point, you probably don't necessarily feel like there are any differentiators. But really, I think that the main value that we provide at this point is just the ability to kind of have a one-stop shop. So we offer a cash flow manager, which allows us to kind of synchronize data between PayPal and Magento seamlessly. And so what ends up happening is you're able to see your orders and pair them against whatever is happening in terms of the money movement through your store. So being able to look at things like how much money is flowing through your particular website. You can even drill down into seeing specific orders that are maybe in errant statuses. So a lot of us know that if you've worked in payments before, that you know that when you issue a capture, that doesn't mean everything's successful. That merely means you've requested the capture, and a slew of things can happen. And so we've kind of tried to take that asynchronous process and break it into a point where the merchant can kind of have this glass pane into seeing exactly where each transaction is when they go to capture an order, ship an order, things like that. They can actually look and determine the state of that particular order. So kind of giving users the ability to kind of take snapshots of their orders on a grand scheme at any point in time. Additionally, in another view, we allow users to kind of look at their cash flow generally. So just looking at successful payments and refunds, kind of help them out with the balance sheet, being able to relate payments back to specific orders. And I know that was a big requests that a lot of merchants had on the accounting side. So that's something that our product offers as well. Any questions on that? Okay. Great. So yeah, next I'd like to just kind of show some basics about the installation and onboarding process. Hopefully convince everyone here that it's as simple as I'm proclaiming it to be. But basically, we have a composer meta package that's available on Marketplace. We take advantage of the Commerce Services connector. So if you are using other Magento Commerce Services or Adobe Commerce Services, you're able to simply take advantage of the existing connector, and no additional steps are needed. Beyond that, we have a sandbox for payments, which is very important if you're not familiar. Just being able to issue test payments, kind of test error flows out, things like that. We fully support that. And also additionally make it clear to the user when they're in sandbox mode, as well as mark orders as sandbox type. And finally, obviously, we allow the user in the same way to go through live onboarding process and enable live onboarding so they can immediately begin taking payments. So let me share my Magento instance, and I can go from there. Okay, can you guys see this screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Great. So let me start here, actually. This is the Marketplace page. So this is kind of where you would go if you went to Marketplace Magento, Magento Payment Services.html, or search for us. You could grab our extension from here. Basically, we are just a thin extension that allows you to integrate with our services backend. So we manage our services, the payment information, all of that stuff does not live on the Magento instance. So we kind of adopt that risk a little bit so that the merchant doesn't have to worry about anything like that. We're fully PCI compliant. So that's kind of the level at which we kind of help absolve the user of that type of risk to an extent. I'm not going to read all of this word for word, but basically once you get the extension, you can follow these steps to not only install but onboard. It's a standard Composer installation, nothing special for us here. And our documentation is pretty thorough, but obviously if there is anything that you see that we can improve on, please let us know. We're always trying to get better and create better experiences for our customers and users. Finally, once you've installed the extension, you'll be able to go to Sales, Payment Services. I'm not going to go through the stock Commerce Services onboarding, but basically you do have to go to a configuration page if you've never onboarded to a Commerce Service before, and you need to add the key information. There's instructions here on how to do that, but this is going to be stock for any Commerce Services extension. But this connector allows you to communicate basically with services behind the Adobe I/O gateway. Finally, once you've done this, you'll be able to go to payment services. This page pop up. This is a thin React app. This will allow you to receive updates. So as we make updates to this admin portal, you will receive them natively. You won't have to update the extension. You won't have to make any changes. You should just be able to go to this page, and as we deploy features, ideally, they'll begin to show up here, and the user will just kind of begin to adopt and be able to use, sometimes even test, hopefully, on our behalf, these different features. But basically, there are two buttons you see here. One's for Sandbox onboarding, one's for live, as you can see. Once you click on this loads up a PayPal pop-up. I'm not going to go through the entire onboarding. It's a little bit lengthy, but basically you need to type in some detailed information. And once you've done that, you're able to process and accept payments. So that's it. That's the entire onboarding process. One caveat: for live onboarding, you are required to have an entitlement, and to do that, there will be a contact page, which is available from the documentation. But if you do not have the entitlement, this area will look different. I have the entitlement, obviously, so this will look a little bit different for you. But once you are able to acquire that entitlement, you'll have live onboarding, and the entitlement just requires kind of the more legalistic kind of process. So nothing too painstaking, but just an FYI. Don't want to set expectations falsely. Any questions on that? Does that make sense to everybody?
It looks like everything is clear.
Okay, great. Let me keep going. I have another slide I wanted to, or another slide I wanted to share. So I have an onboarded site with some transactions, and I kind of just wanted to see this working in action. So let me pull that up. So here's a store I have. Can you guys see this screen?
Yep, we can see the store.
Okay, great. So this is just a standard Luma store. You'll notice if I go, let me just go buy something. So let's go to a hoodie, maybe, or wherever. Yeah, let's do a hoodie. And I like this one, so I'm going to go large, black. That's great. And actually, let me click in so I can show you some of the buttons I was talking about earlier. So basically, I have payment services enabled here, and you'll see that the PayPal and Pay Later buttons just show up. Obviously, these are a little wide, but you can customize these as needed. These just came out of the box. Basically, it's fully interactable. You can begin and go through an express checkout process here. If I add these to the cart, and I don't want to bore everybody, I know a lot of people are already familiar with shopping online. You'll see the same buttons show up. These are, again, all out of the box. If I proceed to checkout, I'm not going to fill out all the information, but let me just go ahead and actually let me show the cart view. That's a little bit easier. If you look at the cart view, you'll also see the same buttons. So pretty basic stuff. Nothing major here. So basically, it's a standard checkout. The last thing I do want to show, now I'll show this. You'll get both credit card processing and PayPal processing. And so the credit cards, sorry, this is a resource strapped cloud instance, so I apologize. And I'll just fill out some test information here. All right, free shipping, always great. Yeah, so you'll see the credit card information, credit card payment method, and PayPal payment method available. So let's click PayPal, again, seamless experience, and then credit card. One thing to note here: these aren't actually hosted on the page. These are hosted fields. So none of the information that you put in here will be available to the page. We're interacting here with a component that directly sends information to the payment processor. So a lot of that absolves risk on behalf of the merchant and on our part as well. So you can rest assured that these are secure fields and kind of alleviates a little bit of the security vulnerability because of that. So I have a test credit card here I will pay with. Unfortunately, this doesn't work in real life. I've tried it, just kidding. But basically, I can throw in this credit card. We should be able to go through a test transaction here. So I'll place the order. And then hopefully we'll be able to kind of see on the other side some of the reporting data I was telling you about earlier. So because this is sandbox, it's a little slower. I promise it's not as slow in the live account, but my order is lucky 13. So let's go to the dashboard. I have the dashboard open here. We can go to payment services. Of course, I have to log in. Sorry about that. So I've logged in here. I go to my dashboard and I should see these two cash flow management options. So the first one is what I was talking about earlier, just kind of being able to see from an order level what orders have been placed. So you'll notice I only have 12 at this point. This runs on a cron job that will sync against our backend. Obviously, that's not going to work for everybody, and as people want to view their data, they want to see it as up to date as possible. So we have this button here that allows us to refresh. So we'll do that. And once this refreshes, we should see the new order pop up. And apologies again, we're in the sandbox, so the infrastructure is a little bit different. Sorry about that. Let me make sure hit this. There we go. So yeah, so here's order 13. It's in. You'll notice that there's a pay status and an order status. So order status, I think we're all probably familiar with. This came directly, basically from Magento. The pay status is a little different. This is an amalgamation of Magento status and PayPal status or payment provider status. And this tells us information about where the order is at in terms of if it's in a state where it needs to be captured, if it's in a state where you've requested the capture, and if it's in a state where the money's actually been moved and the capture has been confirmed. And so if you hover here, eventually we'll expose some tooltips. All of these columns are sortable, so you can sort based on order date, authorized date, whatever is interesting to you, and also payment method, whatever might be interesting as a merchant. Additionally, we have a date picker, so we can go back as far as possible, or as far as you'd like to kind of view the different orders, and a linkable order here. So if I open this in a new tab, it should take me directly to the orders page, and I can kind of drill in and figure out, what's going on with this order, if there's an issue, or if I'm ready to capture maybe something like that. You'll also notice this warning. This was captured via sandbox payment method. So we kind of mark all of the orders that way, so the merchant is clear about which orders are actually going to bring them value and money versus orders that they've placed via a test method. And that's basically it for this report. We have a data source selector here. So I mentioned that we have a live and sandbox environment. That's kind of pretty basic. And also we have the ability for the merchant to download a CSV version of this report. So what they see is what they get. Once they hit this download button, the CSV generates, and you'll see it download right down here. Any questions about this report?
Yeah, actually we have one question in the chat. So, question from Dan. Does the cron to sync order payments run on the Magento side or on the Adobe Services side?
Yeah, great question. So there's a couple obfuscations, I guess, that I can talk a little bit about. So on one side, there's a lot of disparate data that gets synced. So in one sense, there is a cron that runs as part of the on the Magento or Adobe Commerce instance, this particular instance, and that cron will push data from the Magento order. So things like order status, you see a lot of data here that just is coming directly from Magento. So that part does run on the Magento instance. But on the other side, a lot of the transactional data that will run on the services side. And so that is pulling data from the payment provider and things like that. And what we end up doing is we have kind of these multiple pieces of data that need to be synced together. This button will trigger all of them for the specific merchant, so that we can kind of join whatever data there is and display this view. So I don't know if that's a good enough answer for you. The answer is yes. It runs on both. But that's only because of the disparate sources of data that we're reconciling within this view. Hopefully that answers your question. Anything else?
Nope, I don't see any questions.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I would like to dig into this other report. Unfortunately, this report will not populate in Sandbox. Well, it will populate in Sandbox, but there's a delay in terms of capture transactions. So this report, very similar to the last one, will show a different view to the merchant about data that is essentially reflecting the money moved on behalf of the merchant. So this tells kind of the merchant about the amount that they're being charged. It tells the merchant about the money that they're actually receiving on behalf of whatever orders that they've sent out. And it enables them to look at things like refunds at a top level. So they can do things like accounting, types of reconciliation on a monthly basis or yearly, but whatever it is that their cadence is. Similar features. There's no sync button here, you'll notice, because this data is actually completely dependent and reliant on the payment providers. So there's nothing to sync. It's the provider actually to publish the report and publish the data. So we didn't think it was valuable to add a sync button here. We already sync this regularly for all merchants on the cadence that matches when the payment provider allows for it. We're definitely open to feedback if there's more usability changes that they'd like to see. But at a high level, the report's similar. We also allow sync back to the commerce order. So here you'll see the same link that we saw before. You'll be able to drill into orders that you've captured from when the money is available. So nothing too maybe fancy or significant there. One last thing I did want to show, or I'm sorry, are there any questions on this? Okay. Cool. One other thing I did want to show is on the order side, a lot of feedback we received was around being able to check out at the admin level, and so we do support that via this admin view. So if I look through my merchant and I want to create a new order, I'll just add these shorts, I guess. And I'll add it to my order, hopefully. Let's try that again. Okay, well, they show up here, so let's see. Yeah, let me go back. Sorry, this isn't showing the product. Let me do that again. Let's select me. Add the product. We'll go for this one. Okay, something's wrong with the admin view. Sorry about that. Let me try one more time. I'll order this for Venkatesh. Add a product. product. We'll do the virtual product. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. We're going to keep that there. We're going to send this email to Venkatesh. He's filled out all his information. And then we'll load up the credit card. So you'll see this credit card field come up. Again, these are hosted fields. They don't live natively on the page. We interact with a component. So the payment information actually never touches the Magento service or our payment service. This is actually coming from the provider side. So again, minimizing risk. I'm going to go back to my trusty fake credit card, and we can put this order in. And then we will submit it. There we go. You'll notice that we have the same message as before. So this went through our sandbox. We've created this order, and now we can interact it as normal. You'll also notice that we have additional information to interact with any support that we might need. So there's an issue later. We need to interact with PayPal. We need to interact with another provider such as ourselves. This is our internal payment services order. All this information is readily available for the merchant. Any questions on that? Does that all make sense? Okay. Last thing I just wanted to show really quickly is just in the configuration. If you needed to configure, oh, sorry about that. If you needed to configure payments, we have a couple options. And nothing surprising here, but standard configurations that we provide for the merchant. So you might notice that a lot of the orders I was placing didn't actually create an invoice. And the reason for that is that we're in authorize mode. We also allow the merchant to authorize and capture. I can customize the title of any of the payment methods. So I can say credit card, I can say PayPal here. I can rename these to whatever I'd like. Additionally, we allow the merchant to toggle the display pay later messaging. So I know that you probably saw the messaging I pointed out, which broke the payments out based on the qualifying purchases. So lots more that we plan to kind of add to this menu and to these configurability pieces. But that's basically it for now. We tried to make this as lean as possible and standardize it according to kind of what competitors were doing. Any questions on this? I think this is pretty basic. Okay, cool. Let me flip back to the presentation. Sorry for all the on and off screen sharing. Let me go back here. There we go. So we talked about admin. We did the admin checkout, showed you the sorting, the downloads, etc. And finally, I just want to talk a little bit about what we're doing next. And so upcoming, what we have on our roadmap, definitely not committing to all of these things, but these are things that we are planning to look at. We're looking to expand to international support over the next year and a half. So we're trying to enter the Canadian market. Right now, our current offering is for the US only. We're also looking at going to some European markets and I believe Australia. We have a virtual terminal that we'd like to add. So I kind of showed you an admin checkout flow in terms of just being able to quickly perform transactions. That was something that a lot of merchants gave us feedback about. And so we plan to add support for that, hopefully in the upcoming year. We also want to consolidate settings a little bit. If you noticed, the admin settings were kind of located in a different part of the Magento console. And so we'd like to kind of make it easier for merchants to navigate around and just kind of have a one-stop shop for managing payments. And then finally, we'd like to add some analytics in terms of allowing merchants to kind of view their payment volumes, look at kind of the state of each of their orders and payouts. And our designer Mike Miles has a lot of great ideas and inputs that we're hoping to be able to move forward on in the coming year. But that is basically it for me. So I will stop sharing, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to field them.
Okay, we have one question in the chat. Does it follow PCI compliance in the Europe, and is any card data stored on the Magento side?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, our services have gone through PCI audits. We are PCI compliant. In the EU specifically, I think that question probably relates more to GDPR. We're still in early phases, so we don't have that offering quite yet, but we will be fully compliant with any regulation in any country we're operating in. In terms of card data being stored on the Magento side, no, nothing is stored on the Magento side. All of the services absolve all of the risk for the merchant. So what we do is we give you a reference to interact with a payment, and that reference is stored on the Magento side. But by itself, that reference means nothing. We store kind of the information necessary to interact with the provider. Hopefully that answers your question. Anyone have anything else?
Okay, I don't see any additional questions in the chat, so we will be sharing the recording on our YouTube channel, on the Slack channel. So yeah, if you will have like any questions on that, feel free to ask, and we will try to do our best and answer them. So thank you everybody. Thank you, Jan, for like sharing a great content with us, and yeah, have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Stanislav. Bye, guys.
Yeah, bye.